6 minutes after 7, today is the deadline to name a new prosecutor in Georgia's election interference case that involves President Donald Trump. The fate of this case has been in limbo since the removal of the lead prosecutor, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis.
Atlanta News First Niamani Watson joins us live. She's outside the Fulton County Courthouse with the latest information. Bring us up to date, Niamani.
Yeah, good morning. The Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia is in charge with naming that new prosecutor, and it comes after the Georgia Supreme Court refused to hear an appeal from Fani Willis to stay on the case. Now, Willis announced the indictment back in 2023, accusing President Trump and 18 others of trying to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia. Willis was removed from the case last year after it was revealed she had a romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. Executive Director of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, Pete Skandalakis, said the new prosecutor could be someone from the Georgia Attorney General's or Solicitor General's office, a private attorney, or even himself. Earlier this week, President Trump pardoned all of his co-defendants in the election interference case, but Skandalakis released a statement saying, quote, "It is important to note that President Trump's pardons apply only to federal charges and do not affect state charges. Therefore, the task before my office remains unchanged. My staff and I have been diligently working on this matter." Now, if no one is named, the case could be dismissed. Again, we are expecting a decision sometime today, and we'll continue to keep you updated as we learn more information. For now, we're live outside of the Fulton County Courthouse. I'm Niamani Watson, Atlanta News First.